A lot of people will say this to me, and I had to answer this also on TikTok as well, so I might as well say it here. A lot of people will say, well, JB, you're gay, so if you defend the Palestinians, a lot of Palestinians are anti-gay. There may be a few Palestinians out there, yeah, they're probably anti-gay. But so are a lot of Americans. Does that justify 9/11? A lot of black people are anti-gay. Go ahead, take a look. There's a lot of black people out there that are anti-gay, anti-queer. But does that mean that I shouldn't fight for black liberation because there are some black people that are anti-gay? Do not use the justification for genocide by means of queer liberation. Also, some of those same Palestinians that some people say we should just be hands off and let the Israel do what the fuck they want. Some of those Palestinians are queer too. Here is Yoav Gallant, who is Israel's defense minister. You're about to see a fascist in real time, folks. Let me show you guys, because this guy actually literally corroborates what this young lady just said.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם. אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל,
no
אין
electricity,
מזון.
no food, no fuel, no water. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals. Let me just add this fact. When you dehumanize people to a point where you start to call them animals or insects, you're dealing with fascists. That's what you're doing. Dehumanization is a tool of fascism. That's who this is. And that's what they do to Palestinians. They're literally calling them animals. Black people. What do they call us here in the United States? Monkeys, roaches, right? You don't think they don't do that to Palestinians over there? If you're black, this is why you should be paying very close attention to this. And any black person, and I've seen this, somebody even said this to me on TikTok. They'll go, well, we have our own problems over here. We just have to let them fight their own battle over there. The IDF literally trains our police force in the United States. And how the IDF treats Palestinians over there is similar to how the police treat us over here, because you're being trained by them. So it behooves us to be united in solidarity with Palestinians in their fight. That's why it matters. Black people we really need to go back to our revolutionary roots, because that's what's important. And this fascist scum is doing things that is just horrible. Benjamin Netanyahu is a terrorist. Here's what he says in his own words.
שהמחיר יהיה כבד מצלם, כרגע המחיר לא כבד מצלם, על התקפה רבת היקף על הרשות הפלסטינית.
So I'm going to read to you guys what he said. He said the main thing, first of all, is to strike them. Not once, but several times, so painfully that the price they pay is unbearable. So far, the price tag is not unbearable. I mean, the large-scale attack on the Palestinian Authority, causing them to fear that collapse, to fear that everything is about to collapse. Fear is what brings them to, and the person says, hold on, but then again, the world will say that we're the aggressors. This is somebody responding to Netanyahu. Netanyahu says they can say whatever they want. And then the person responds, aren't you afraid of what they'll say, Bibi? Here's what he says. Especially today with the U.S., I know how they are. Then they say America is something that you can easily maneuver. Somebody responds with that and move in the right direction. And here's what Netanyahu says. He says, and even if they say something, so then they say something. So what? 80% of Americans support us. It's absurd. Look, I wasn't afraid to maneuver the Clinton administration. I wasn't afraid to confront Clinton. I wasn't afraid to go against the UN. So what happened with the Oslo Accords? The Accords which were ratified by Parliament. I was asked before the 1996 elections, will you fulfill them? I said yes, subject to reciprocity and minimizing pullouts. I gave my own interpretation to the agreements in such a way that will allow me to stop the race back towards the 1967 borders. Basically meaning this is what the Palestinians wanted, to go back to those previous borders, which gave more land back to the Palestinians. He did not want that. Let's continue. How did we manage to do this? Nobody defined what military facilities are. So I defined them as being security zones. The entire Jordan Valley for me is a military facility. Nobody has, yes, like the Viet Chien Valley. You see, go figure. But the question was, there was a question of who will define these military facilities? I received a letter from Secretary of State Warren, Christopher, to me, to Arafat at the same time, saying that Israel and Israel alone will define the military facilities and their locations and size. You see the disproportionality of it? So if something is defined as a military facility, that means that they can attack it. And if everywhere, all over the West Bank is considered a military facility, that means you can bomb whatever you want. And that's what they're going to do. Because who sets the terms? Israel got to set the terms. Palestine had no way to set the terms, according to the agreement. Let's finish this. Now, they didn't want to give me this letter. Of course not. So I refused to ratify the Hebron Accords of 1997. I stopped the government meeting and I said, I won't sign. And only when the letter has arrived during that meeting to me and to Arafat, I signed the Hebron Accords. It's better to give the 2% than 100%, and this is the choice we faced. You gave 2%, but you stopped the withdrawal rather than 100%. So basically, instead of giving in so that they can have peace, he held back so that they can set the terms fully, so that even though they don't have peace, they have most of the land and they got to keep it. That's who Netanyahu is. Oppressors, especially, will use whatever lie they can to justify committing genocide. Now, I'm going to say this as well because a lot of people will say this to me, and I had to answer this also on TikTok as well, so I might as well say it here. A lot of people will say, well, JB, you're gay, so if you defended Palestinians, a lot of Palestinians are anti-gay. There may be a few Palestinians out there, yeah, they're probably anti-gay. But so are a lot of Americans. Does that justify 9/11? A lot of black people are anti-gay. Go ahead, take a look. There's a lot of black people out there that are anti-gay, anti-queer. But does that mean that I shouldn't fight for black liberation because there are some black people that are anti-gay? Do not use the justification for genocide by means of queer liberation. Also, some of those same Palestinians that some people say we should just be hands off and let the Israel do what the fuck they want. Some of those Palestinians are queer too. So I'm not going to take sides with a country that will wantonly murder and kill Palestinian people because a few of them are anti-gay. If that's the case, then you can make a justification for 9/11. In fact, there's a lot of anti-gay people in Israel. Here, let me share with you guys this, because the gentleman that was speaking about Palestinians, he also mentioned the Israeli finance minister. Here's what the Israeli finance minister said. Quote, I'm a fascist homophobe. That was from Minister Bezalel Smotrich. This is him. He literally said, I'm a fascist homophobe. Look, it's not just a meme. It was actually recorded in media. Look, see? Says Israel's finance minister says he's a fascist homophobe, but won't stone gays. Same guy. Says Israel new far-right minister Bezalel Smotrich has allegedly made anti-LGBTQ comments during a recorded interview with an Israeli businessman. In the recording, Smotrich is reportedly heard saying, I'm a fascist homophobe, but I won't stone gays. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu coalition deal, which is far from far-right politicians appoint as ministers, has led concerns of some crackdown on LGBTQ and women's rights in Israel, along with much greater fear of the violent suppression of Palestinians. He admits to being a fascist. That's who's in the Israeli government. And that's also the type of people we have in the U.S. government. And yet, people will say, well, Israel is cool with gay people. Doesn't look like it among many members of the government.